I'm like, do you have audio? Do you have audio? Do you have audio?
Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to Friday's editions of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by Options House. Joe, what do we got lined up for the show today?
Well, nothing like a round two to get our Friday started,
They
right,
don't know
Joel?
that. They
Yeah,
don't know
well,
that.
they know now because I just told them.
Now they do. Dang it.
So, today, it is Friday. We have Joe Gits on the show after a 2 week hiatus. SMA Info talking about this week's market sentiment from the Pre Market Edge Report. And then at 9 a.m., we have the talented blonde, Miss Kristin Bentz, on the show again, coming all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. Joel?
Okay, we have a lot of earnings here, but first, let's just take a look at the S&P 500 futures trading down $5.50 this morning. The dreaded triple close up there, Dennis, at the 1873, 1874 level, held up in the pre-market, and now we are trading lower.
What does this dreaded triple close mean there, Joel? What does this mean for us?
It means we're going down. We
You think
take,
we're going down? Well, we're down 6. Are we
yeah,
going down
so
farther?
they're gonna try and rally it a little bit again off the open, maybe sneak into the 1870 handle, but then we're gonna take out this 1863.75 low from yesterday, and go down to Monday's low at 1856.50. Is that a enough of a prediction?
That's your scenario analysis. Yeah, I like it when you have the predictions here. It's struggles up there. We keep getting up to this whole 18s, high 70s, 1880 area, and we cannot get through there. It's like a brick wall. Get up there yesterday, and then Russia comes out, rumors over there, and a little bit more struggles, and the market gets nervous here again. And here we are, the market's a little bit nervous again. I mean, it has been, like we were saying on Wednesday, it's been a hell of a run down there from 1810 when everybody was throwing in the towel and saying we were going to 1500. Obviously, the crowd's always wrong. And then we get back up here and people start getting bullish again, and we are back up at the highs. So resistance very well defined, support not as well defined. Where do you think we're heading?
Well, today downside projection would be 1856.50, and that was your low on Monday. Just notice here we've had the run up, that nice run up, and then you get in a pause. The consolidation phase here, seller and buyers meeting up here. So for you bulls, this was just another consolidation to move up to 1900. For us bears here, this consolidation, buyers are just getting tired here, and it's time to come back down into the lower 1800s.
And it looked like gold was weak there yesterday
Oh,
morning in the pre-market, while just like that, it turned around in the pre-market, turned around the regular session, and turning around here again today. We're back up. We just ticked over 1300. We're right there right now, trading 12. Actually, we're right at 1300 right now.
I wish I could have like an opposite account in gold, and just like
It's
every time,
hard.
yeah, because when it was looking, it just looked so terrible yesterday, and I just thought it was going to 1260. If I have an opposite account, I would have bought it there, and then it would have popped up. But familiar level 1300 here, hit 1303.10 just a little bit ago. We'll keep an eye on that as resistance. That's kind of smack dab in the middle of a couple highs that we had on the 17th and 21st. So that's pretty good resistance. We clear that 1304 level. I think we could be heading up to 1326.50. That was your high on April 15th.
Quick look at crude here too, which is
Yeah.
trading down 57 cents here. We got up that old 103.50 area for a couple of days. Could not penetrate it all the way back down here the last couple of days, consolidating right in the whole 101.80, 102 area, just hanging out. Now we're selling off a little bit here today. Obviously, you want to see crude hold the psychological $100 level here, but I wonder if we're going to go down there and test that today.
Scary chart here. Very scary chart here in crude. I don't want to, alarm anybody that's long crude, but you've had four lows, well, including today in this 101.20 area. 101.20 matches your low from Wednesday. 101.40 on Thursday. Leaning up there, not getting a bounce, only trading 15 cents above that. I think gold takes out that level. Forget about 101 even. We could be heading as low as lower 90s here. 99.75 I see is the low that you had on April 8th.
ExxonMobil and Chevron are trading with crude. It seems like tick for tick the last little while here. If you bring up the XOM chart, wasn't making new highs when the S&P futures because crude was starting to break down. It ran into a whole pile of trouble at 101, putting in one, two, three, count them, four tops in the same area, right ahead of that whole 101 big seller that we've been pointing out there at the point, over 100,000 shares up there. So anybody who's been leaning on him has been rewarded here multiple times, rewarded big time yesterday as it started to break down. And the stock actually traded down another 50 cents here, just a couple hundred shares, bid up a 99.69, so it'd be down another 30 cents. But if you were trading ExxonMobil, obviously keep a look at crude. It seems to be more influential than the S&P futures on that stock right now.
Wow, so we are trading lower here. We are trading below yesterday's low here at 99.46. Yesterday's low was 99.86. So we'll use that as resistance. And then, when you break down like this, you can always anticipate traders reloading at the nice even number of 100. Got up here, really tried to hold it, but now we're coming back down. Looking at the daily, or go a little bit farther out, you can see what happens in ExxonMobil when it doesn't hold the $100 level.
I believe we're getting earnings in that next week, aren't we there? Brent, are you kicking around out there? You look up that ExxonMobil
Yeah,
date
sure.
because I think it's towards the end of next week, if I'm not mistaken. I think Chevron
Let's
is right around the
see.
same time, too. Maybe hunt Chevron down, too.
I see that they reported last year's Q1 April 25th. So that would be
Well, that would be today, so it's not today.
it looks like it's going to be either Thursday or Friday of next week.
Thursday or Friday. Chevron
Yep.
around the same day?
Let me check that one.
It's always
Chevron?
good to know when they're coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Chevron looks like it's going to be definitely Friday. So
Friday of next week, so
would
1 week.
that would tell me that Exxon will probably be Thursday.
Okay, and Chevron, bring up the chart on that one, Joel. Double top, same area, 124.96, 124.92, right ahead of a seller, 50,000 shares selling at 125, so somebody's trying to get out. That 125 area, absolutely enormous in the stock. Late December, kind of topped out all in that area. Early January, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. It did cut through it a couple times, but call that area 125. The institution who's selling is calling it 125, and people are leaning on him, and it's working right now.
Any bids out there?
I don't see anything in the book.
Yeah.
Nothing significant.
Yeah, because two lows at 124.14, 124.19. If you could get a short off right there, with the spoos traded down 6.5, Dennis, maybe bid 124 for 5,000 and see if someone penny jumps you, and then you can hit their bid.
And then again, and then the SEC would come and put cuffs on me. That's called layering. Don't do that, folks.
No, it's not layering
So-
if you get someone to bid in front of you.
Yeah, you're putting out a bid to intentionally hit somebody else to fool somebody into bidding the stock. That's called trickery and foolery and gaming the quote, Joel. Don't do stuff like that, folks. That might have worked back in the pits in '87. It doesn't work in the new environment here now. They cut down that stuff. Yeah, never put an order out there you don't want to get filled on. But that stuff is done now. Like, we know how many fake orders are out there, and I don't know if it's high frequency traders doing it. I don't know if it's other opportunistic guys, different people doing that kind of stuff. They are cracking down on that stuff, though. That is not something you want to do. But 124, I agree. I think if this thing starts cutting through that double bottom you're talking about, especially keep an eye on crude. It's only trading down 50 cents here right now. But if crude takes the dump like you think it might, I think Chevron and Exxon will follow suit.
Okay.
Earnings, Joel, earnings. Last night, some guns reporting. I know Fari was sending me emails there, and he was bullish a few of these stocks, and the Baidu one was working out for him, I think. BIDU actually reported pretty good numbers, $1.24 and a 1.53 billions, and they raised Q2 sales guidance up $6.50 here. It's trading in the pre-market at 166.20 right now. What's the whole pre-market story on Baidu?
Well, if you were sharp, this got up to 172.42.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I wonder if
and-
Fari was selling up there
yeah.
at 172.
Yeah, well, he would have had to lock in his profits since that time. Now, we've come back and we have found some minor support, and let me call it minor here, at 165 even. So there's your level. I mean, if it holds that, it's still really early in the pre-market session. under 165. You got a gap to fill down to 160, 167. So a pop here. Dennis, it's another one of those scenarios which, we talked a lot about with the biotechs. We have people buying, this whole way down here, and now you're getting a pop. And so we'll see if there's, people are just waiting to, just get me out here on this pop. I'm not anticipating a lot of follow through to the upside.
Well, and I think the 170 whole number could come into play if this thing does pop up a little bit further, especially since you ran into trouble just above that in the pre-market 172. But and then if you're looking at support, the old resistance becomes support trick happening in the pre-market here too, because they had multiple highs right around 165 and a half, and then just 3 days ago you topped out at 164.42. I'll call that whole area 165. That's where maybe some people come in and try to support the stock here. But a lot of these good earnings plays from yesterday's were getting faded here. So, and obviously the overall rush and concerns here over the market coming into the weekend, you never know what's going to happen, if people are going to take some profits or not. Microsoft was popping up big time on their report last night too. It's still up nicely here. It's up 2% in the pre-market, 86 cents. They beat on both the top and the bottom. 68 versus 63, 20.4 billion versus 20.38 billion. And it's getting a nice lift in the pre-market.
Yeah, up 85 cents here. Look at this 41 in the pre-market. You talk about a nice round number holding up. 41 snuck above it a few times here, but that seems to be where a seller is. 41.06 is the pre-market high. A lot of volume going up here, keeping an eye on 41. And then if you go to your daily charts, you did have some highs above that area, 41.29 and 41.39. So I don't know. Dennis, you think this thing is just going to plow through 41 and tack on another 30 cents?
So many tops just above 41 there too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you start to run an overhead resistance too. And if you look at that daily chart there, Joel, just look from the action from late March, early April. You almost got a kind of like a head and shoulders thing going on. It's not a perfect chart, but the whole left shoulder I'm looking at there when it was topping out around 41, and then it broke out and put two tops in around 41.66, 41.59, came back down and started to try to get up to 41, couldn't quite get that high. Obviously, we're getting back up here now, so if for whatever reason I can't talk, but if it gets back up over 41, maybe it gets above that left shoulder, but that's the bogey I think it needs to. If you're going to be short the stock, you want to see it below 41. If you're going to be long, and I guess you got to see it above 41. But a lot of overhead supply here again. Remember that was the theme from Wednesday. Kind of the theme here still today.
Okay. All right.
Also reporting earnings, Amazon, AM Zebra N. This one's been a wild child in the after hours. Was popping and now is dropping.
Whoa!
Yeah, and Raymond James downgrading the stock here today, but lowering the price target to 391, which is still 70 points higher. The revenue numbers were good, earnings were okay, but the stock did initially spike. Where did it get up to there, Joel?
It got up here to 354.29, and then it hit the skids here. Coming back down here, pre-market low, trading right there right now, 323.26. That's the pre-market low. Got a 70-cent bounce off that. Oh my gosh, Dennis, look at these two lows on the daily chart at 323.39 and 22.95. 323, major support here. We're holding on it here. If it holds, it might be get a bounce back. I don't see it going back to the close there, 337.15. But if in fact this 323 level goes by the late wayside, I don't want to say 305.50 because that was a low on the 15th. Maybe a nice round number like 310 may provide a little bit of support.
This one struggled to come back. Like looking back at some of the other momos, how much they came back. This one really hasn't come back nearly as much here. Like Amazon, if you look, it was $400 stock. They would put in a ridiculous amount of highs for 2 months in December and January. Sold off, like you said, all the way down to almost $300. It's come back to 340. If you look last night, you get the 50% retracement there for about 10 seconds when it was popping up over 350. If you're quick, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this one. It's not nearly as nice looking. They used to remember Amazon every time they report earnings. It didn't matter if they disappoint. They would just pop the stock. Now it seems to be the opposite story here in the last 2, 3 reports here, where no matter what, it seems like the stock drops off the earnings reports. So, and the earnings weren't terrible; they weren't saying terrible things there, but they're knocking the stock here down. It's kind of just a little bit opposite to the way it was last year, when no matter what they did, the thing would drop off the earnings report and the initial have an initial spike down, and then it would always pop back up. So, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, this thing looks dead in the water here. There's just too much supply here on any kind of rallies.
Yeah.
I think the all-time high is in for Amazon.
Ooh, big call. Starbucks SBUX here is up $1. So here's one that's trading up. We got a 56 cents versus 56 cents and 3.87 billion versus 3.95 billion. They're raising guidance slightly. They blame the weather for the earnings not being, or the revenue not being super duper. Stock has great support down at $70. That's where we kissed yesterday, 70.11. You go back in late February, early March, we had a couple lows right on 70 on the kisser as well. That's where support, it's very well defined. Resistance kind of well defined here too, a little bit higher than here. You had that double top from the 9th and the 10th right around 72.70.
Trading above 73 on the initial pop here, 73.28, and then bounced around a little bit. But I like to see this kind of action here in the pre-market when you're holding one particular level. That level is $72. It's a buck above the close, right up near yesterday's highs. So if you're not convinced the earnings are that great, you got a chance to short it at yesterday's high. Below that, you're looking at $70 level is key as well. 3 lows in a row, 70.11 to 70.33. Another 69.85 low, 70.14 low in there. So all kinds of support here at 70.
Just looking through all these charts here today, it's kind of a similar story,
They
especially
all
in
look
some
the
of the momentum
same.
ones. Yeah, they all look the same. They all look like they have huge overhead supply. This is what we were saying. Harlan's in the chat there, and we were talking with him about it on Wednesday. There's just a lot of overhead supply, and obviously the S&P futures have had like 7 or 8 tops in the whole 1880 area too. So it's not surprising that all the charts look the same here too. I mean, if we get a bounce back up and give you a shot here to short like 1870, 1873, it feels like it's a low risk short right now because you know where your resistance is up at 1880. So if you're willing to risk 6 or 7 or 8 or even 13 S&P futures points here, it looks like a better play to the downside than the upside here right now, at least from these charts and at least from the overall market.
How can these charts, the individual charts, look this bad, and then the S&P chart? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't look that bad at all. I mean, what do you have? I mean, Apple, bringing it up yesterday. I mean,
Helped.
yeah.
Yeah, and Nick was actually saying that even out in an email that Apple did help it huge yesterday. The overall tape action wasn't that great besides the Apple, which was just up obviously enormously on what we were saying, a little bit of selling out to Wall Street where they kind of the numbers weren't super, but they wanted to give money back to the shareholders, and so they did increase the buyback due to stocks, but they did everything that Wall Street wanted to see happen from Apple, so they wanted to please Wall Street, and that's what they went out there and did. So, and Apple obviously yesterday it struggled too, though. If you look up that whole 570 area, it just did not want to go through there towards the end of the day. It kept trying to fight through, and could not get through there. And now we're selling back off here, and you have the lows there around 562, 561. Those need to hold here today, and I think they will. I think this is kind of, all of a sudden a little bit more love than it wasn't before. So I don't think they're going to come and kill this thing right down, especially with a 7-for-1 stock split on the table, especially with the potential this could be added to the Dow. I think there's be probably people not really willing to sell it here, but overall market here, I don't know. I don't know, Joel. I'm a little bit nervous.
What do you make of that, Joel? What do you make of this kind of action when you see it?
In the overall market,
When you see kind of like some individual chart weakness, and then you look at the futures, and you're going, this.
well,
S&P
I was,
futures
like Dennis said, it's a low risk short at this area. With identifiable resistance up here, you have the closes there. So I think eventually, the index has to follow the stocks. I mean, Apple, big component, propped it up yesterday. But if you take that out of the market yesterday, if you take that crazy gain in Apple out, what do you have in the market yesterday? So,
Wasn't that good of a day. The tape action wasn't that great. And like Harlan's in the chat right now, and he's saying virtually everything that popped on earnings yesterday was getting sold. Like look at Under Armour yesterday; it was trading up the entire pre-market. UA it was up, $2 the entire pre-market. Earnings reports were okay, and then just towards the end of the pre-market, it started selling off, and then it actually opened down $3, and then it just kept selling off, and ended up being down another dollar. It is getting an upgrade from Stifle here today, so it's helping it pop back a little bit there, but. It was a story yesterday. A lot of these earnings reports, if I go back to my sheet, were getting sold. Like they started popping and then they started dropping. So even Caterpillar, that was a fantastic report from Caterpillar yesterday, and it did close up on the day. But it wasn't as strong as you'd think it would be on that report. And remember Gilead, the earnings from a few days ago? That was an awesome report. I think it was Namira was calling it one of the best reports ever from a biotech company. And it's actually sold off and it's lower than it was before the earnings report 2 days later. So there's profit taking in this market right now. That seems to be the story. Harlan's just throwing them out. FFI.
Harlan, man, Harlan must have
story.
got his like
He's
extra.
on fire in the chat. and
He's
it's all the
my
same
triple
story.
espresso with in his morning cappuccino or something. But also, Dennis, following that theme, Biogen. Look at that.
Yeah.
They missed, but they up full year guidance. So that chart not looking pretty. And then the worst looking chart from yesterday to exemplify what you're talking about. Look at General Motors. Oh my
Yep.
God. Look
Yep.
at that. From earnings, from the pop,
Yep.
from the pre-market, 35.75. That thing dropped 2 sticks. Unbelievable.
That's an unbelievable move for General Motors. First of all, it's pretty unbelievable they can pop $1.30 on the earnings, and they came with their selling shoes on. Profit takers are out here in this market right now. They're nervous. They're looking, the people that were nervous at 1810 are looking at this spike and this, spike back up. We're only 10, 15 points off the highs yesterday and the whole 1875 area, and saying, look, I want to take some money off the table here just in case it starts to get ugly again, just in case Russian headlines start to beat us up again. There's a few unknowns out there right now, and people are taking profits here. And I don't know if they're going to come in and continue to whack this market here today, because you do have the buy the dippers that are always rewarded, and they're still kicking around out there. Eventually, buying the dip isn't going to work, though. One of these days, the market is going to top out, at least in the short term, but it just seems to always come back. But looking at all the overhead supply that we were talking about with Harlan the other day, I'm thinking it's the same thing. And Harlan's saying the same thing. He's looking for pops to
Yeah,
fade.
can we put that in, Harlan? Can we put that in Benzinga Pro news update that Harlan is looking for pops to fade? I mean, that's he's a pretty bullish guy here, but we'll see. I mean, the market doesn't lie. 1863.75, yesterday's low. To me, as long as that holds up, we haven't even taken that out in the pre-market, then maybe you will get that pop to fade.
Pops to fade might be the theme here today. Ford. That actually is not going to give you a pop to fade because they missed. So GM reported a good quarter. Ford missed 25 cents versus 31. The revenue numbers were good, so it's interesting when you miss on the earnings, but the revenue numbers good. 35.9 billion versus 34.1 billion. Stock is trading down here 35 cents in the pre-market. So obviously we knew where resistance was.
Did you get a chance to get anything off there? Because it opened 1641. I bet you were like at 1648 or 1649.
You know where I'm at. I'm too cheap to go that low at 1641. I see 9 cents. It's like a 0.5%. I was like 1645, 1647, 1648. It was too high. I knew 1650. There's been that guy sitting there trying to get done on his 300,000 or 400,000 shares forever for the entire month of April. He's been trying to get done at 1650. You can see the three tops. It snuck back up there, tried to get up there. He's not going to get done on this order here again today. It doesn't look like, because they're starting to sell it off here in the pre-market. And some of these institutions that aren't getting done on these orders might start to get nervous here.
Let's just look at the dip here in Ford on your chart here. You did get a spike down to 1530, which is a pretty big move here. No, not 1530. I'm sorry. I'm scaring people. 1578 has been your pre-market low. You have bounced off a little bit from that level. Just look at those cluster of lows that you had between. Wow, you had like 5-6 lows between 1559 and 1575. I'd even bump it up there for a little bit from that level because, no, not really. That'd have it down 60, 70 cents. But pre-market low, I think I'd target that as a place to short-term cover short.
I'm just looking here at some of these other reports. Some of these airline stocks have been flying. American Airlines did report earnings here too. It's actually I don't have the ALK. Brent, you got the ALK report? I was lazy. I didn't write it down.
Yeah, sure. Just give me 1 sec here.
What's American Airlines symbol? They keep
ALK.
Oh, it is.
I'm
Wait,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no.
sorry.
That's Alaska Air.
Alaska Air. I don't know why I said American
you-
Airlines.
you
I'm
on
looking at
a-
Alaska Air. It's on
Which one are you looking for? You're looking for
Oh,
ALK?
Alaska. Yeah. Alaska,
Okay,
sorry.
I got Q1 EPS 128 versus 122, sales right in line at 1.22 billion.
Spotty
stock.
looking. Yeah. And they're knocking it down?
It's up. It's up 75 cents right now, 95.50 right now, but it's not that great. And look at 2 days ago, the high is 96.77. This whole area, it's up at all-time highs. These airlines, you talk, okay, so here's a really, these are charts that actually are stocks are all sitting up near the highs. Southwest, which is LUV, is up near the highs. Delta DAL actually put in a double top yesterday, which is up near the highs. So a lot of these stocks are near 52-week highs. ALK is the same story here, but I'm not sure, if they're going to be coming in and buying all these stocks here too. I just feel like there's going to be profit taking possibly across the board here. And like Harlan says, if this thing pops up and gives you a $2 pop off the bat or something, the whole 96.70, maybe this is a pop you could fade too.
Yeah, nice move up here. Just looking at the pre-market trading, you did get over $98, 98 and a quarter. Not a lot of volume trading there. Come all the way back down to 95. Looking at yesterday's range here, yeah, 96.22. I'd keep an eye on that one. A good level, 94.75, folks. All-time high. That's exactly where it's trading now. No, it's not. All-time high is 95.96. So up near the 96 level, major resistance. Keep an eye on the close, 94.75.
Here's a company, Shaky Jakey was pointing out, that actually reported good earnings and cited the weather for the good earnings. DT Energy reported $1.69 versus $1.41, so symbol DTE, and 3.93 billion versus 2.67 billion. So blowing away the top, blowing away the number. It's such the cold winter, everybody had the heat crank in there, and DTE was raking in the dough. And the stock is not trading much here in the pre-market, but it's bid up at $78 right now. Went out at $77.15. And you know what else? When I look at these utility stocks, and all these utility stocks are starting to break out here too, this market is quietly getting defensive again. It really is. Some of the defensive plays are starting to catch fire, and they're jumping into stuff like DT Energy. And this is a stock here where a pop where I might not look to fade this one because this is a little more of a defensive play.
Yeah, up near all-time highs here for DTE. All-time high is 77.47. You hit that a couple sessions ago. So that 77.47 was your high on Wednesday, but the all-time high is 77.56. We are trading above that level. Can you see anything at 78? Is there anything in the book?
No, there's nothing in the book on this one. Nothing. I don't. And maybe there's something going to show up there, but there's nothing right now. And there's 2,000 shares bidding at 78 and another 300 with him. And there's nobody even sniffing it. So I think it's going to open probably higher than 78. Best offer up at 81.97. So this is very wide. They've priced this. They think it's a good report. Obviously, the market. They just haven't figured out how much this is worth. So I think, usually if a utility stocks moves a couple of bucks, it's a pretty big move. It's a pretty good earnings report, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if this did tack on a buck or two.
Okay. What else do we got in the queue?
We got Colgate earnings if you want to look at those briefly here. CL, and again, Denny was lazy and didn't write down the report, but I'll go to the trusty Benzinga Pro, which I will get it from in seconds. Colgate reported X items 7 cents only, but actually, what were the adjusted items? I don't know. It looks like a miss, actually, when I'm just looking at those numbers.
Let me
so.
see what we got here.
Oh, nice little chart, though, here. I mean, it is trading down in the pre-market, but nearly identical ranges the last two sessions, 66.46 and 66.57. Your major resistance, if we can get a rally here. We are trading lower, though. It's right into the two lows from yesterday. So if you're a believer here in Colgate-Palmolive on the earnings, go ahead, try and buy at 65.80. If in fact you're wrong here, I'd make a quick exit. We could be down in the lower 65s pretty quickly. 65 and a quarter was your low on April 11th.
Hey Dennis, I see 68 cents. That would be right in line, and then sales. That looks better, right? Sales coming in at 4.33 Street was looking for around 4.32 billion. So in
Right in
line
line.
to slightly better report.
Keep an eye on Colgate because Procter and Gamble had a pretty crappy report a couple days ago, and they sold it off. But immediately, it's basically all the way right back up here. So Procter and Gamble got all the way down to just 79.38, bounced back that day, and bounced back yesterday as well. Here, if you are trading PG, resistance very well defined in that one, up at $82 is just a huge institution, and the thing keeps getting up. These institutions are acting like roadblocks, man. And the stock gets up in the A190s, Procter and Gamble, it's going to run into trouble. But if they do sell off Colgate, I know that these stocks tend to bounce back fairly quickly. And a lot of these plays actually do look, this is maybe what's holding up the market a little bit too, because you got some of these value stocks here and some of these little defensive stocks, which are actually mostly up near 52-week highs. Visa, Joel. Let's just bounce on that one quickly. That'll be probably the last one we cover for earnings. Stock is actually trading down $8 here right now.
Oh.
The earnings looked okay. 2.2 billion versus or $2.20 versus $2.18 and 3.16 billion versus 3.19 billion. But they're whacking the stock here. This put in multiple highs right around 210, and they're whacking it down here today. It's all the way down to 201.75 right now. Psychological $200 level, only $1.80 away.
We did get below that in the pre-market. 199 is the level. 199.85, 198.85 to 199.01. That was just the initial support point. Getting a bounce up now. Since making that high, though, you have found good resistance at the 201.80 to 202 level. But look how darn quiet this thing was ahead of earnings, Dennis. Holy mackerel.
Tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. How many days in a row did it trade to range.com now? So if it gets back anywhere, it's not going back to 208 today, but I was going to say, maybe over the next couple days, if you do get any kind of reprieve here, holy smokes, that 208 level is going to be a brick wall.
MasterCard too. Look at that one and what a brick wall that is. Look at that level of 74.75. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 5 days. The highs are in the same area, just below $75. So
My
it's
chart's
obviously trading
terrible.
down in sympathy. It's down $1.35
Oh,
right now. But
that's the
if you
same
can get
chart.
that
Can
thing in
you
the
believe
yeah, I
that?
know it's the same identical chart. If you get this thing short anywhere in the 74s on any type of a bounce, man, that looks like a low risk short there too. I don't know. A lot of these charts, you're right. The defensive ones look pretty good, and the Momos and the financials don't look that good, and that's concerning here overall. So I know we're down 6, and I hate to sell a market that's down 6 points. But if we're to get any type of a pop here, pops to fade. We're gonna keep saying it here.
72.50 pre-market low, 72.46, 72.50 had a couple lows in that area on the bounce, finding resistance at 73.40. Those are some early parameters to look at. Coming back down, this thing just had all those tight lows in the 73 area. If perhaps we get a pop up. Well, we're right there right now. 73.33 was yesterday's low. So take a look. You can't get back above the yesterday's low. We could see some downside into the lower 70s.
Hey, did you see that GWPH yesterday? I didn't get the Apple right, but I got the GWPH call right there. That stock was trading up there in the pre-market. I had a inkling that it was going to have a down day there, and it did. I actually gave back $7 from the high. It's now trading down another $2 GWPH here in the pre-market, trading very close to the low from 2 days ago at
Oh,
64
that's
and a half
interesting.
here. Yeah, so we're getting a pullback here, obviously. What do you think of this one?
I mean, it was a big move here. Pre-market trading just hanging out at 65.55, and that is right in. You're right, Dennis. Right in the vicinity of the two lows, 64.50 to 66 and 12. You have to give this thing some room. You split that, you're probably right in the mid 65. So perhaps you get a chance in that area for a short. You obviously know you don't have a lot of cover off that area. Interesting, we also talked about 65 being like the whole 50% retracement of the big break. So that's a key level. I mean, below that, I mean, you had the $50 low. Wow, when Morgan came out with the upgrade. So, I mean, you're gonna have people buying in between 64.50 and 50, but it's only gonna be, you're gonna have short covering in there from shorter term scalpers. But it'd be nice to see it get back in the lower 50s here.
Let's go get that Joe Gits guy. It's 8:35 and see if he's kicking around. Do we want to get him live or do we want to take a quick break and go grab him?
Joe.
Joe's getting them. Joe's getting Joe gets.
Joe's getting 'em.
Joe, yeah. Okay,
all
while
right.
he is, I just want to bring up a tasty-looking chart here. IBM. Dennis broke.
Tasty chart.
Yeah,
IBM.
broken.
Oh, look at this. These are weird looking shirts. Like it's 190.
Yeah,
What's up,
exactly.
Michigan?
What's up, Joe gets?
How are you guys?
What's going on? You snuck in on us there.
Yeah,
How are you?
we're doing good. I just if the crowd doesn't already know who you are here, we have Joe Gits, president and CEO of Social Media Analytics. Joe, glad to have
Good
you
morning,
back.
guys.
Social Market Analytics, I got it right this time. What's
That's
going
all right.
on in the Twitter sphere?
Twitter sphere is acting up. I didn't know that I was live. So, good morning, Michigan applies to everybody.
Okay,
All right.
that's
Good
all
You know,
right.
you guys were talking earlier today about fantastic earnings and the stock gapping down. I think we're going to see a lot of that in the Edge report today too. So it's a continuing trend. We've seen that over the last week, where the sentiment has been crazy positive. They kill earnings, and they did a great job, and then the stock gaps down. So first of all, we have a positive bias in the market this morning.
Slightly positive bias. Okay.
Yeah, actually a pretty strong positive bias. So
Oh.
a lot of strong scores on the top 10 list, and only very few significant negative scores today. So let's go. Top 4 are going to be earnings plays, and so our customers have already been acting on these where possible. And number 1 this morning, PGI, Premier Global Services, Diversified Communications. I believe that's an earnings play.
That's a small one there, PGI. No trades here this morning in the pre-market, but when widespread too. Earnings last night, 22 cents versus 19 cents on 143 million versus 140 million. So be on the top, be on the bottom, and the sales guidance okay. So we'll have to see what happens with that one.
$12.
Yeah.
$12, man. You've had the last 5 highs in the session between 12 even and 12.10. Gets above there. I'm a believer. If not, resistance is still resistance. This is trade by appointment only. Traded at less than 100,000 shares yesterday. So be careful on this one.
Good one. Waste Management this
Waste
morning,
Management.
WM.
Yeah.
Yes, 4.1 with very high volume.
That stock was crazy yesterday. They had, I think they had earnings there, 40
Yeah, they
cents versus 45, where they actually looked like they missed, but this was one of those they missed, but they popped the stock, and it popped nicely there yesterday. Got all the way up to 43.24 before pulling back. Another one of those value plays here, Waste Management. Nice dividend, 3.5% yield, down at 42, fantastic support. So 70, 80 cents lower. I'm itching on this one. I got a small position in my investment portfolio. I'm kind of itching to buy a little bit more of this on a pullback here. I actually might make an investment here in Waste Management.
Excellent.
Okay.
Now, this is a weird one. Bob Evans. I don't know if that's an earnings play. I didn't see a whole lot on that one. You guys might know. BOBE.
Bob Evans.
Down on
I
the
think
farm.
It was. I'm trying to remember yesterday too. We had so many. We had like 300-400 major companies reporting there yesterday. So, Bob Evans was in the news yesterday. Received a letter from Sandal. Says we'll evaluate offer. I don't know what that's all about actually. So there was some type of headline there yesterday, and it did pop up yesterday. Had a good pop actually. I'm just looking here at the chart when it went from $44 all the way up to 48. So something was happening yesterday, and then it closed 47.29. So I don't know if Bob Evans. Brent? You know anything about that? Brent there?
Yeah. So
Report.
there was. I'm trying to go find the original offer from Sandel, but they are a firm that is looking at potentially bringing some board members on. So you know what that can lead to.
Yeah, a little shareholder activism here.
Ooh, okay.
When you see that
That's
kind of
it.
move here, I mean, we're just hanging out 47.30. I mean, the kind of move you had that pop up that 48.68. I mean, I would use that as resistance. You know, the first pop up, it gets through there, maybe the $50 level. As far as trying to pick a bottom in this thing, I don't think I'd really have a bid out until the $45 level. 2 lows between 44.71, 44.97. This is kind of a tough call here.
NetScout Systems, NTCT. Technology, I think that's earnings.
Boy,
Which one's N?
NTCT, NetScout Systems.
TCT. We got some small little ones here today.
Yeah,
I don't
what
know
do
this
you-
stock either.
Are you getting?
Oh wow, that was really popping.
Yeah, you getting your stocks from Jake or something? I mean, these we gotta pop.
These are,
up.
it's a weird one because then there's some big names on here too. Microsoft is on here. TI is on here. There's some big ones on here too.
Microsoft bullish, right, on the earnings?
Yeah, that was earnings.
Yeah.
There's Cirrus Logic is on here. CRUS.
That's popping nicely, 85 cents here in the pre-market. That's actually a big level it's trying to break out through, Joe. Look at that 21 it's getting up through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's right there right now.
That was
Russ.
earnings last night. They blew it away, 41 cents versus
Yeah.
32, 149 versus 143 million. Blew away the top, blew away the bottoms, up 4% in the pre-market. 21's the level. That's where resistance was before. Maybe it finds a little support there, unless it's going to be one of those same story, pops to fade.
Yeah, pre-market high in Cirrus Logic, quite a bit higher here. So somebody's already had their selling shoes on. 21.96 was the pre-market high. Have come back under the $21 level, 20.81. So 20.81, 21.96, your early parameters for this issue, Cirrus Logic. And what about Baidu had good earnings. What about Baidu?
Baidu. All right, let's pull it up. That's what we talk about every week. Yeah, I should put it on my watch list. So you can enter stocks in your watch list. And Baidu is, where is Baidu? Baidu is 2.86 this morning, very positive. 2.86. Yeah, very positive. Good volume this morning.
Hey, Joe,
and this is on a Gappers list, so people are talking about Gappers and continuing this morning in social media.
Like, Joe, do you remember, I don't want to go too far back in the week yesterday, but do you remember you reading on, like, General Motors? Because that had good earnings, was trading up strong in the pre-market. So I was just wondering if you were getting a lot of sentiment on that.
General Motors, yesterday was the 1.024 at this time.
Which is kind of weak considering how good the report was.
Yeah, and today it's a 0.453, so slightly positive, but in normal. But on the auto company vein, Ford is on the negative list this morning.
Yeah.
And as we all would expect, so Ford has a significant negative score. Hang on a second. Let me go back to the dashboard here. So Ford is number 6 on the short list, a -2 S score.
Okay, I'm also I'm interested to hear Apple. Apple, after yesterday's tremendous move here, 10-point range, kind of sitting in the middle right now, below the close. How are the Apple pickers?
I have a 1.18 positive, so not a little positive, not significantly positive. Considering when news comes out on Apple, it's normally 2, 3, 4. That's a pretty weak signal.
Okay, yeah, this is Vape Holdings.
I don't think it's off exchange.
It's off exchange. Okay.
Yeah, we won't carry that. There's some interesting names on the short list today. TCBI, Texas Capital Bank Shares. Bank of America.
Bank of America's on there.
Yeah, -2.44.
That's interesting. Bank of America. Why is Bank of America down so much today? It's down 20 cents. Is there a downgrade or something on that, Jakey?
There's
got to be something on that.
Bank of America.
Got to be something.
I don't remember
that's
seeing
down
that.
20 cents. That's a big move for Bank of America in the pre-market.
It's over fair value.
Oh hell yeah, that's down like 1.5%, way over fair value.
Okay,
there's got to be something on that. I'm going high.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. That's one that caught my attention too. I haven't had a chance to go on. Colgate Palmolive CL -2.32 this morning.
Ooh, now that was the one that had earnings and really hasn't done much. So we know Procter and Gamble, after its poor earnings, took a good hit here. So that's an interesting one there to follow.
And then Lululemon.
Lululemon.
Yeah, one of my favorite apparel companies of all time.
Yeah,
Lululemon.
Wow, this thing, and that's on the negative side, right?
Yeah, -2.09.
Ooh, boy.
This chart, man.
Oh, that's ugly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it got up there and it gives you a little bit of a bounce there early April here, and it's just drifting down, drifting down, drifting down. It looks like it wants to retest the lows from February, which was 44.36. I think that is probably going to get retested here. Whether that holds or not is the question, but that is not a good looking chart. That's not a healthy looking chart.
Not at all.
Yeah, that's a big negative two. Fusion IO, they're a solid state drive company, negative 2.02 this morning. And then some other notables on the bottom 10, but not statistically significant at this point. McDonald's, Verizon, Adobe, and Wynn Resorts.
Okay.
Wynn Resorts. There's one we haven't talked about for a while. What's that chart look like? WYNN.
Turd
It's got a
Trader.
lot of consolidation too.
Turd
Right,
Trader
this
has a $13 billion fine for Bank of America.
one. That doesn't help.
Ooh.
I think also you got price targets and price target moves here. Credit Suisse neutral rating reiterated, but cutting the price target to $10. So a little bit of bad news. The fines aren't good, and the price target cut doesn't help. And it's got Bank of America trading down.
How about Amazon? Amazon.
And
Yeah.
on that win, we were talking about that a second ago.
Sure. Let's
It
go
looks
back.
like there's a bullish MACD crossover on that one, is what people are talking about.
Mm.
Oh.
All right.
Well, that's
Amazon.
That's one to short. Go ahead. Bullish MACD cross.
Amazon is starting to. We just covered Amazon. It was at 330. Now it's at 320. This is in sell-off mode right now here in the pre-market, guys. This got up over 350 last night on this report. This is a big reversal here for Amazon, and they are
2.5.
rocking the stock.
Whew. And it's got a high sentiment score, but you're saying they're rocking it lower, right?
They're rocking the stock, man. They are rocking it right now. But maybe it's got that high sentiment score that's going to bounce back here. But I don't know. They're rocking it down there. It's just one of those that this was your classic pop to fade there. And wow, 351 last night, 319 this morning. Whew.
Yeah. And all right. What else we got this morning, guys? So that's what's happening. So there's a positive bias overall in the market.
What about
And,
Starbucks? What about Starbucks? Because their report was okay, and we're looking, and we have this whole theme going on. We're looking for pops to fade, and Starbucks trading
Yep.
up $1.28
All right.
here. It's about 30 cents off its highs from just the 9th and the 10th of April there. So I'm looking at this one. Is this a potential pop to fade here, Joe? What's sentiment?
3.6. That's really high. But there's not a lot of volume. That's the reason it didn't show up on the report this morning, because there's very, very little volume on Starbucks. So people aren't talking about it this morning. So I wouldn't put that in the strong signal category.
Okay.
So you want a high sentiment score with a high level of volume.
Gotcha.
And then a dispersion is a metric that tells you how broad the signal is. For example, Texas Capital Bank shares, we were talking about it earlier, that has a 0.73 dispersion score. That means that everybody is fading that. Waste Management, a 0.7. Cirrus Logic, 0.78. So that it's not a situation where one or two people are talking about it. There's a broad consensus that sentiment is strong. So you want to have that. And Starbucks didn't have that. And that's a good question. Let me look at that at Amazon. Because let's see if we're just talking about that.
And
Amazon doesn't have a high dispersion either.
okay, what about IBM? It had some bad earnings, and they whacked it. Now it's kind of the pause here, and now three of the last four lows right at this 190 level. Not really, Dennis. Is there any bids out there at IBM that you can see? I don't have a
Slight negative 0.33. So not a little bit negative, but not a whole lot. And less volume than normal. So there's not a lot of talk about IBM in social media right now.
8,000 at 190 in the New York buck. It's somewhat significant because it's IBM, but it's not huge. They can kind of slice through that here, and I think that could maybe hold up the price pre-market here. But 190's.
I don't know why anybody would buy that at 190. I don't know why anybody would buy 8,000 shares there.
You didn't know why anybody would buy it at 173 or 174 either, Joe. When I wanted to buy it, never forgive you for that. That one, and what was the other one? Then
J.P. Morgan. You
Oh,
wanted to
Joel.
buy it.
On the whale trade. I wanted it. I would have doubled my money in that. That's
You
sure.
wanted to buy it at 30, and I think I hold you to. I wanted.
He said,
you
"Oh, you'll get it at 28." I was like, "You're right. I'm cheap. I'll get this at 28."
have to
No.
go to the
Worth
monthlies.
$2
Have to go to the
not
monthlies
play.
to document this one, Joe. Looks how long this guy holds a grudge here. This was back in the middle of 2011, and he won't let it
I
go.
don't forget.
2011.
Like an elephant.
Look
I
at
don't-
When
that.
money's at play, man,
All right,
money's
so-
at play.
So
Hey,
Joe,
what about Pandora Media? Because it's trading down $2 here right now. What do you got for Pandora there, Joe?
I'm looking. All right.
I'll give you the earnings here a while. So they did report last night, and they actually reported a loss of 13 cents against estimates of losing 14 cents. Who figured we knew they'd lose money? The sales estimates were a little bit light, but so and the stock actually just a couple price target moves here. It's like Credit Suisse raising their price target to
Yeah,
$32.
2.8. That's positive. Yeah.
It's positive. So here they
Yep.
are. That's interesting. They're fading this one too. So maybe you're looking for this to bounce back, possibly.
So,
On the
Joe, you been
Pandora.
getting any feedback, from your customers as far as their results of trading? Do you do any kind of like?
Yeah, we track on a daily basis the performance of the universe of stocks that we're selecting. And over the last, if you look open to close over the last 2 years, stocks that the cumulative performance of the portfolio open to close is up 58% versus the S&P on open to close securities as a universe up 18. Stocks that are universe of stocks that are short S scores is down negative 3% versus the S&P 18. So statistically, these stocks outperform, and the Sharpe ratio on that is a 1.92 on the long side and like 0.78 negative on the short side. So the data is statistically significant, but this is a tool for your toolbox. I like the way that you guys talk about the technicals and the fundamentals, and just as a side note, I really enjoy your show. I think it's a very valuable service because you really need to take a mosaic theory on the market and take all the different inputs. But social media, it's a statistically significant one,
Okay.
and the hedge funds are our hedge fund clients are really making a killing with this data, and active traders deserve the same type of information.
Okay. All right, Joe. Well, if we don't have anything else coming out of the chat room, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We've had Joe Gits here of Social Market Analytics, President and CEO, giving us a take in the market. He's going to hang out in the chat room for a few minutes here. And
All right, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay.
Okay,
Take it
thanks,
easy.
Joe.
Bye-bye.
All right. Before we have our next guest on, Dennis, do we have any emerging trends here in the market?
We got some imbalances, and we got some major sell imbalances here. Expected we'd have some sell imbalances with the market down 6 points, but there's some big ones here. Coca-Cola. And it had sell imbalance there yesterday, too. And how did that work out, actually? I'm just going to go look at the chart from yesterday on Coke. There's 200,000 to sell here right now in Coke, which is definitely significant. And actually, it was, I guess, an imbalance to buy yesterday. I don't know if that's going to be the case here today or not. It is trading down 20 cents here in the pre-market, which is a pretty decent move for Coke, lower beta stock. But with 200,000 to sell, that will knock down any stock. AT&T, 107,000 to sell, so that's significant here as well. Whoa, look at that AT&T chart, Joel. There's a little double bottom there for you that's going to try to slice through.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had the earnings here in T. Let's see how it's trading right now. The two lows here, 34.45, 34.46. Trading right there right now. The problem is, Dennis, if it doesn't hold that level, you're fading that imbalance. You got a little bit of support, 34.23, 34.37, but if it doesn't follow through right on the open and get a pop, I might see this thing trading back down 34.13. That was the low on the 21st.
298,000 to sell in Bank America, which would obviously be expected. Also, Walmart, 31,000 shares to sell. Walmart actually had a pretty decent day yesterday, tried to go up there. So I always like to look at these plays, and if I want to fade an imbalance, I sometimes look at, a stock that had decent relative strength yesterday, opening down, possibly going to open down with the overall market, might give me a chance to buy on the cheap side. So here's an interesting one where I might look at Walmart if it's to open, say, $78 or something like that. Maybe you could get a pop off it. So that one's interesting. It's not a huge imbalance, but it's significant. 31,000 to sell.
Kind of getting tired. I mean, it did rally yesterday, did tack on 27 cents. You did, made a new high for the session, over the previous day's high, 78.28, 78.47, Dennis. But you also have a series of three tops up at that area and a little bit below there, the 78.30 level. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't fall in love with this one if you're buying it at 78 today.
Bank or J.P. Morgan set 67,000 to buy. So there's a potential fader for you. I don't know if that's going to hold. They're probably coming in to offset that because on the day we're down 6 on the other financials week, Bank America week, they'll probably jump before. You've still got a half an hour where people can offset those numbers. But right now, J.P. Morgan, which is trading down 20 cents, has a buy imbalance. So there's a potential fader for you too. If that's to open around flat, might give you a shot.
Hey, TechWiz here, coming up with a good question. Do we have a link to the Benzinga sentiment for the stocks that we're talking about?
I believe you would just have to collect those in the chat right now. I try to list them as Joe's talking about them. That's a pretty good idea, though, TechWiz. We can look into something
But
like
he's
that.
talking about the sentiment from the pro, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, not like Joe gets social
It'd be
analytics?
good to add the Joe Gets stuff though. Like if we had a
Yeah,
little bit of the
right.
top 10 and the bottom 10 for sentiment, because it's just like you said, more tools in your toolbox. Somebody misses the show, you can go watch it on the Benzinga Pro and get that at least the information from Joe Gets. So it's just a good recap there too. So it's not a bad idea there to
Right.
add that information there.
TechWiz, if you're just talking about the sentiment in the Pro, you just have to log into Pro and you can see it over on the right side of the Pro feed.
Okay. Getting
Couple other ones here just of note, Joel. SO, the Southern Company, does have a buy imbalance of 24,000 with DT Energy obviously going to open up. It's trading at 78.5 right now. Off their good earnings report, it could pull up some of the other utility stocks there. So keep that in mind. The only thing SO I want you to highlight here, this $46 is 150,000 to sell up at 46 on SO, and that is huge for this stock. That's a big order. So this could be one of those scenarios where it opens up into that, takes out 46, all bets are off, but just keep that in mind. And also Duke Energy, DUK, has a sell imbalance right now. I'm always interested, in possibly buying those sympathy plays. So if this was to pull back a little bit here off the hop on the opening print, maybe it gives you a shot to play this long off of the DT Energy
Yeah,
report.
these stocks are holding up well here. It's kind of interesting, though, with the market trading down, just kind of just holding here. Really a very, very quiet pre-market session here for the hour that we've been on the airways. Just kind of hanging out down on the day, but it's certainly not showing any tendency to go down to the lows from yesterday at 1863.75. And also, it's interesting that Joe is coming out with just kind of a little bit of positive market sentiment here from the Twitter sphere. So, got a lot of things to look at this morning.
Pops to fade, though. Pops to
Pops
fade.
to
I still
fade.
think using that. That's my theme for trading today is pops to fade from Harlan there. And if we get a few pops to fade here off the bat, I'll be looking for it. So
Okay.
not on the utilities, though.
Okay, not in the utilities. Okay. All right, we're going to just take a quick 2-minute break here, maybe even less than that, and bring on the talented blonde herself, Kristin Bentz. We'll be right back. Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Kristin Bentz, the talented blonde, here to give us her take on the retail sector. Kristin, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing well. We're doing well. So we'll dive into things right here. Starting out with Nike, we're the wearable tech sector here. Nike pulling the plug on their wearable watch here. Was that something you had on your radar, or comes as a surprise?
Well, it's interesting because the story kind of keeps unfolding, and there are a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about it. So here's the thing. Wearable technology got my attention because it's really become kind of the new fashion statement. Everything from your iPhone down to Google Glass, Beats headphones by Dr. Dre, things that are that simple are taking money out of the apparel space, especially within the teen sector. So that's why I started, paying attention to this stuff. You had all these different players, right? You had Jawbone, all these different electronics retailers are trying to, and software makers, were trying to come out with this, wearable technology that monitors, different aspects of your body, right? Your pulse, your, calories burned, all of that stuff. Nike seemed to be the best leader, right? And then all of a sudden, we see that they, fired about 70 people from their hardware division, and they're not exactly giving up on wearables. They'll continue to service them, but I just don't think they're going to grow that capacity. So people are wondering what happens next. Well, Tim Cook from Apple sits on their board. So that kind of begs the question. Also, we find out later last week that Apple hired the Fuel Band designer, the top designer from Nike. So the big question and debate out there is, are wearables dead or not? Or is Apple just coming out to make something better, which is what I think. And it's a very heated debate right now.
Yeah, Nike invested a lot of money, into that here, just to pull the plug like that. I mean, that's that R&D. That's a lot of R&D down the tube.
Mm-hmm.
You think maybe that maybe they transfer that technology? I mean, it just seems like it's setting up too nicely. That Tim Cook's on the board. They boot the engineer, then he goes over to Apple. That it just seems like what a setup there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost like you could just hear Tim Cook saying, "Okay, boys, thanks for your hard work," patting them on the head. We'll take it from here, guys. Okay. So if anyone's going to do wearable technology well, and remember, Apple makes things sexy. And, I truly believe, my opinion is that Apple really is more of a luxury good company as opposed to an electronics company or as opposed to, a software company. So if anyone is going to make this work, we heard mumblings of this, Apple Watch, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is, as technology evolves, the iPhone 5S actually has an application or a capacity that it can be a monitor. So it can do motion monitoring. So in effect, if you wanted to wear your phone on your belt, if you're one of those guys, I hope you're not, that motion detection system is already built into the 5S. So it's kind of like, the razor blade thing. And as technology evolves, look what happened to, we don't need iPod touches and iPods. Now you just need your iPhone because it's got everything on it. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I don't necessarily think that wearables are dead. I just think it's going to really shake out to see who can, best execute on that idea.
Apple kind of, Apple did everything right yesterday for the street. I don't know if this is a stock that you follow at all. I mean, they split the stock. They, raised the dividend. They increased the buyback. They made everybody happy. But they didn't come out with a new product. I mean, do you think that perhaps this is going to be the lifesaver for Tim Cook? I mean, I heard rumblings that this was the quarter that he had to produce. He juiced the numbers. It looks good, but still no new technology for the company. Is the watch going to be it?
Well, it's kind of refreshing because for a while there was a new freaking iPhone and iPad every 3 months.
Right.
So in my opinion, it's nice to have them finally, tweak something and make it really great, as opposed to feeding out new iterations of the same thing over and over again, and you're constantly trying to keep up with the tech. So in that respect, it's kind of refreshing to me. I'm kind of glad that they're actually taking a break, and maybe they're taking their time to sit on this, iWatch. And I don't even know how I feel about that, by the way. You have so many things that you have right now to tell time and the weather and news and email. I don't know if I necessarily need it on my wrist. So I'm just really conflicted about that iWatch concept and the whole thing. But
Okay.
yeah, it didn't worry me. Let's say that. It didn't worry me that they didn't come out with new tech.
Okay, all right. So let's just get to your favorite sector, teen retail, and that continues to implode here. So why don't you give us some stocks to look at in teen retail?
Well, it's funny. We're going into the summer months, so usually nothing really happens. Summer is, a clearance month. And, as you know, back to school is starting sooner and sooner and sooner. One, because I think retailers are desperate. And two, just because I think the way of public schools is kind of getting into a longer and longer school year, especially with the weather that you folks saw this wintertime. So I think you're going to see a lot of schools starting earlier this year. So that, begs the question about what's going on with teen retail. I just think we are in the middle of, a retail apocalypse right now in this country. And there are very few retailers that are prospering, that are growing, that are doing well.
A retail
retail
apocalypse, folks. We gotta get that. We gotta get that on the Benzinga Pro News feed right now. I don't think I've heard that. Retail apocalypse. I mean, hashtag Kristin Bentz, talented blonde.
As I cackle, and I don't find any pleasure in it at all. But it's just something that you kind of have to face facts out there, and retailers aren't doing anything. They're not innovating. They're not trying to go out there and get that millennial dollar. And the thing is, millennials are a very interesting bunch. They love technology. They love to style themselves, but it's all about them and less about the brand. So if you were looking at what people were wearing in Coachella, which was sad, I snorted, you can see the teens and millennials really kind of, do their own thing. As far as, they're not buying cookie cutter Abercrombie outfits, and that's affecting the stock in kind. So I still tend to like fast fashion, namely because it's so devoid of any sort of personality. So H&M, Forever 21, Zara, that's owned by Inditex out of Spain, all of those companies that can make huge, huge units at very, very low prices. The millennial consumer is very price savvy.
Okay.
And she won't buy unless there's a specific reason to buy, if it makes sense for her. It could be everything from being socially responsible to just being really cute at the right price. And there are few retailers that are doing that right now. So you're seeing, American Eagle suffer, American Apparel suffer. Especially Abercrombie and Fitch has been a three-legged dog for a long time.
Okay. And I think you've discussed this before. Like, who pays for the millennial clothes? Them or their parents? And does that matter the sales levels? You're saying the parents do, and the parents have less to spend, so the kids get to buy less.
Yeah, and I came across this survey last night when I was prepping for the interview, and some think tank. I'm going to have to find out who it is for listeners so that you can go back and read it. It was pretty interesting. It was talking about brand identity and brand integrity with parents of millennials. And the companies that came up with, obviously, the best results or most positive feedback from parents were obviously Walmart, Target, and Forever 21. So it's interesting. So does low price mean better quality? Does low price mean better for teens? And that was across the board. And the company that they most liked to hate was Abercrombie, of course.
Right.
American Eagle, Aeropostale, pretty much in that order, 3, 2, 1. So that's interesting to see going forward, and obviously, we have just a nightmare right now with declining wages in this country. And then you saw what's happening with housing. So, and then men in the workforce, are exiting. They're just quitting. Men ages 20 to 50.
Right. Even though the unemployment levels aren't showing that, unemployment's going down. The true unemployment levels are hard to peg. So, all right. So you don't like the Abercrombie and Fitch because of the high prices. Are there any, so you like what you're saying now is that with less disposable income, these people are going to be looking for bargains, and your Targets, your Kohl's, these places here may benefit from people being a little bit more thrifty.
Well, here's the thing. If your parent is taking you and you have no choice, right? So they're your only revenue stream, your only transportation stream, you kind of have to put up or shut up. If you've been in a Walmart lately, the thing that they really suck at is private label. Walmart does not know how to merchandise a private label brand. Now, they're great at selling a million widgets and pushing them through the channels at a low price. They're awesome at that. I've worked with them. And they cannot handle or understand managing a brand. So there's nothing cool for kids at Walmart, especially in the teen space. So, you're kind of screwed if your parents are taking you to Walmart. Now, if you're Target, you might have a chance in hell of looking a little bit cooler when you come out. Forever 21, much better. H&M, much better. So it's interesting to see who's going to have, more pull when it comes to that. So I think if the millennials in charge of their income, which, very few of them are, you'll see, fast fashion companies benefit. Walmart and Target are always going to get that value shopper, but also, don't forget off price. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, they're still getting a lot of market share right now simply because there's too much inventory. And retailers have to get rid of that stuff somehow. And then who benefits? That consumer benefits.
Okay, we had Brian Sazi on yesterday, and he was kind of getting a little bit positive on J.C. Penney. Now they're a mall store. They have some independent stores. They're definitely a grade above your Walmarts and everything, and maybe perhaps your Targets and your Kohl's and stuff.
Let's be careful.
Be careful.
Let's be careful.
All right, go ahead. Tell me, what do you think? What do you think about J.C. Penney?
People are trying to trade this thing like a day trade stock, and God bless them. And if you can do that and make a profit day to day, I think that's great. You cannot turn a retail concept like this in a year. And all these guys are sitting back and hoping that it's going to happen, and it's not going to happen. They're doing some, they're praying this home sector lifts them. I hope to God it does. They brought in a bunch of really cool new brands, but that consumer has left. So you might as now they're coming in they have to bring in a whole new consumer and educate them about these brands and about the heritage of JCPenney as far as it being, a discount retailer. So that whole brand proposition is really difficult and expensive to market to a new face. And you might as well look at JCP right now as a brand new company. So that's what they're trying to do. So, they're trying definitely with all of these, their print campaign, their TV campaign is very expensive, very splashy. On the radio, they're all over the place. I can't listen to Pandora without a JCP commercial.
Okay.
But I know Brian is obviously, he's a very incendiary analyst. So he likes to make sweeping calls and get a lot of attention, and that's great. That's great for him. But I maintain my call. It's going to take a long, long time for this to turn. I wouldn't hold it. I wouldn't be a holder. I'd wait. And
Okay.
I have conviction, and that's where I'm going to stay.
That's what makes the markets. Okay. Home Depot. I don't know if this stock here covered Barron's last week. Buy Home Depot. Stock got a nice pop on it. Just hanging in here after a nice decline. And people are gonna if they're not spending money on their kids' clothes, are they gonna be fixing up their house with going to Home Depot and Lowe's?
Well, if you saw the housing data that came out this week, it's a nightmare out there. The spring selling season is going to be virtually dead. And the only real movement is, if you're servicing the upper two quintiles, of income earners in this country, that's great for you. So if you're in Manhattan and you're selling $14 million, townhouses and apartments, you're good. But other than that, everyone, to your point, is going to try to make what they have a little bit better. because they're not going anywhere. So, especially coming out of the weather that we had, I think it really impacted, all I hear about on one nice day from you guys on the East Coast is, hey, look, I planted flowers. I did this. I was outside all day. So I think just from that perspective, I'd go along with that logic, just from what's happening in the country right now. But I don't think it's from any new builds. I just think it's from, trying to make your situation a little bit better.
Okay, and I know you were when you were looking at the sector, you thought if anything was going to hold up in retail, it was the high end, and the people that have the money are still going to spend the money. So you get a stock like Tiffany here coming up. Wow, I'm just looking at this chart here, coming up to a lot of resistance at the $89 level. Do you think you still believe that the high end retailers are going to be immune to what's going on in the U.S. economy?
I do. It's really the only growth right now. And, I travel around the country. I do a lot of speaking engagements, and I talk to family offices. I talk to hedge funds. And then I also talk to, trade groups. And I was talking to a bunch of, grocery guys, food guys. And the only growth for them is in high end. So like your Whole Foods, things of that nature. So if you're servicing, again, those upper two quintiles, there's movement. But you can't just buy the whole basket of luxury. Like, don't do an ETF. You really have to do your homework and know what you're doing. Michael Kors consistently delivers right now. Eventually, one day that will change. But for now, that's a stock that I really like. And I really like the luxury hotel space. I love SPG right now, Starwood. Ticker HOT.
Yeah.
Four Seasons Hotels came out yesterday, and they have basically their own Boeing luxury jet that they will fly you around in to fly around the world to their properties for the tune of $150,000 per person.
Okay. Wow.
It's the only way to fly. So, in that case, the luxury consumer feels great, and they're actually, I see travel being a little bit more, and the memories from travel competing with your Tiffany right now. Okay. So where I like Tiffany, and I'm, very constructive on the stock as a holder, I see experiential luxury. There you go. There's a new hashtag.
Yeah,
for you.
Actually, you got two words there. You use experiential, and then there was another one. I was going to have Brent write it down for the archive.
Fast
Retail
fashion.
apocalypse.
What was
I'm
the word?
on fire today without coffee.
What was it, Joe?
I was being asked about fast fashion earlier. And by the way, Kristin, don't use Pandora. Use Spotify. What are you talking about?
You know what? That's what I meant. I haven't had coffee yet, so I meant Spotify. I don't know where the hell Pandora came from.
Thank you. It's okay.
Spotify
Premium,
Spotify.
by the way.
Thank you, though, Lovey.
Yeah, no problem, Super Blue.
Okay. Boy, should I just get off the line here, Jeez, I'm blushing. Anyways, just to close things out here, a theme that we talked about the last time you were on, it was these some of these retail stores going into the restaurant business, and you were like, don't go into the restaurant business. Have you had any? Which I know you got to watch the till, man. When you own a restaurant or a bar, you got to be there watching the till here. But anyways,
right.
What? I can't remember what stocks you were talking
Brooks
about.
Brothers.
Was it Brooks Brothers? Okay, all right.
Brooks Brothers, and even though they're privately held, it's something to watch. Then you have Oxford Industries, which owns Tommy Bahama.
Okay.
And if you're in the West Coast, like the big cool thing out in Scottsdale is to go to the Tommy Bahama store. And it's like a giant palm tree, and then you go have lunch outside, and it's hilarious. And all these women and men are there at lunchtime in their Tommy Bahama shirts, eating steaks and Cobb salad. So that works for that concept. I mean, you'd walk in and be like, yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah. Brooks Brothers, I don't know so much about that. And I can't wait till it opens in New York and I can actually physically go there and parcel it out and see what happens. But a lot of these, concepts are blurring their lines into other industries. So what does that tell you? Retail is essentially Darwinian, right? Survival of the fittest. So if these luxury brands have to dip their toes,
I need to get my thesaurus out
that
here.
They have no clue about. Sorry?
I said I'm going to bring a thesaurus next time you're on. Though I do know Darwinian. This chart looks terrible. This OXM chart. Oh my gosh, someone doesn't want to get this
I
thing
know.
to 7. Well, just to end it off, if you want my take on the retail sector here, I'm upgrading the Tommy Bahamas. I bought 2 pairs of Tommy Bahama pants last weekend, and I'm downgrading Kohl's because I needed some new jean shorts, and I went in there and they didn't even
Right.
have any jean shorts. So that's
You mean like for the
Okay,
last
so
20
let me
years,
help
Joel?
you here, okay?
Okay,
As your
help me
personal
out.
Stylist / read. No jean shorts.
Oh,
No.
come on! I got
No
the one
more.
when I'm working
No.
on the yard.
I
They're
would
like,
rather have
Bad,
you
Joel,
wear
bad.
cargo shorts.
oh,
No,
Oh, we've got Joel's wife on the line who also says no jean shorts. Do they even make them anymore?
See?
I maybe
I
why don't you
freaking
just
hope not.
take
I have
Dude, I
the-
live in
Joel, and
Phoenix,
cut
the
off
land
the
of
bottom
bad
half.
shorts, and I don't even see denim shorts.
They're
I will fly
jean-
up there, and we will go shopping.
jean painter shorts. I have the pocket on the side. That I can put my phone in,
No,
and then the thing
God,
for the
no, you did not.
Oh
say
my
painter.
and then the
gosh.
thing and the hammer. The
Painter
thing for the
jean shorts.
Well, Kristin, it was nice
Painter
having you on the
jean
show.
shorts,
She's never going to come back if you
Oh
keep
my
talking like
God.
that, Joel.
okay.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna have to come back and take you shopping. It'll be like a field trip. Just tell Jason to bust out his Amex.
Joel O'Connor Fashion, sponsored
I-
by the talented blonde.
Okay, that will be our show for next week. Well,
Okay, thanks, Kristin.
yeah, Tim Melvin's popping in jean shorts with a wife beater with the tank top. Yeah, man, that's me. And
Nice.
if not, I would wear a T-shirt and roll up a pack of cigarettes in the sleeve. But Kristin, boy, we've kept you on here a long time, getting ready for the Open. Thanks for your take on the retail sector. We will keep an eye on your calls, and we hope to have when you can stop laughing, we can have you on again. Thanks.
I love you guys.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Have
Thanks.
a good Open.
Okay. All right, Joe. How should we just end the show right now?
A loving endorsement from the talented blonde. What else can we do?
Go out on a high note.
Should we just shut down? Do you think Options House will be mad at us if we just say this is the best we can get, but we're shutting down the operation?
We've peaked early.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
no, Joel. No, we're gonna make this show get better. It's gonna get better. You
I don't know.
You just watch. And
I'm
see.
shorting the show.
Shorting
Don't
the show.
don't short the show.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I can't believe you said jean shorts to Kristin Bentz. I still can't believe that. Go to the Salvation Army, cut your
Joe.
jeans in half.
Joe looks offended.
I just you would, Joel.
Well, you
would.
should see the pair that I'm holding on to that I'm trying to replace, man.
No, I don't
Put
want.
it
Yeah,
down, Joe.
I'm gonna go home at lunch and I'm gonna bring these shorts back.
Please,
if Lisa
no.
didn't throw them out.
Please no. But bring Perry if you do go home.
Bring Perry.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we can squeeze in a few headlines here. So, headline: they don't sell jean shorts anymore, so don't go looking for them. Okay. So, JCPenney might still have them in the back stock room. We'll have to ask Brian Sazi, but on the whole, I don't think you can find them. So moving on, the SEC and a federal grand jury are investigating General Motors over its handling of the massive recall as the government probes into the ignition switch crisis, widens. The SEC probe revealed Thursday in a financial disclosure document filed with the government by GM itself seeks to determine why it took GM a decade to recall some 2.6 million cars with faulty ignition switches that were linked to at least 13 deaths and 32 crashes. Already, Congress and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration have launched investigations into the automaker's actions. The SEC likely wants to know if GM executives knew of the problems and failed to disclose it to investors. If so, they could face civil fines or even be barred as serving as a director or officer of a publicly traded company. The Obama administration on Friday will announce plans to develop ratings of teacher preparation programs to try and make them more accountable for their graduates' future performance in the classroom. Teachers have long complained that training programs often do not adequately prepare candidates for the challenges of teaching children with varying needs and abilities. Prospective teachers, in turn, have no common way of evaluating the quality of thousands of programs across the country, whether they are in colleges of education or based in alternative groups like Teach for America. The founders of Chinese internet company Alibaba Group have set up a charitable trust focusing on the environment and health that could be worth as much as $3 billion, making it one of the biggest in Asia. Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder and executive chair, and Joe Tsai, a co-founder of Alibaba, created the trust that will be funded by share options that represent about 2% of their combined equity in Alibaba, the company said in a statement on its microblog on Thursday. Microsoft officially announced it has completed its acquisition of the Nokia Devices and Services business. The acquisition has been approved by Nokia shareholders and by governmental regulatory agencies around the world. The completion of the acquisition marks the first step in bringing these two organizations together as one team. Reporting to Nadella is former Nokia president and CEO Stephen Elop, who will serve as executive vice president of the Microsoft Devices Group, overseeing an expanded devices business that includes Lumia smartphones and tablets, Nokia mobile phones, Xbox hardware, Surface, Perceptive Pixel, PPI products, and accessories. Pinterest, which calls itself a discovery platform, unveiled Thursday a new way of searching so that users can hone in on what they are looking for among the website's 30 billion pins and 750 million boards. Guided search is the social sharing network's newly developed mobile search engine that allows users to find the specific information they are looking for, as well as uncover pins they did not know were useful or interesting to them. The system taps into the massive amount of user-generated metadata, the titles, descriptions, and comments that users attach to the pins, to find words and phrases that appear frequently and turns them into categories and subcategories. These categories then appear in the search results, and users can tap on them to bring up more specific results. For example, if one user captions a pin with baked egg breakfast recipe, she helps organize, you assume it's a female. She helps organize the pins into a specific category. Very sexist, shoves. Facebook has launched FB Newswire with the aim to make it easier for journalists and newsrooms to find, share, and embed newsworthy content from the popular social media networking website in their work. The FB Newswire is a Facebook page of hand-selected and journalist-verified news stories from across Facebook's platform. Powered by Storyful, the Newswire is designed to help journalists share and embed newsworthy Facebook content that is made public by its members, such as photos, status updates, and videos by people on the front lines of major events like protests, elections, and sporting events. FB Newswire is accessible at facebook.com/FBNewswire and on Twitter at FB Newswire, and will be updated in real time with content related to top news stories. Facebook is confident that their news expertise will help make it even easier for journalists to use compelling social content from Facebook in their news gathering and reporting. And Seth Meyers will take his late night act to primetime as the next host of the Emmy Awards. NBC, home to his new late night talk show, announced late on Thursday that he'll host the 66th edition of the Emmys, set to air on the network on August 25th. It will be telecast live from the Nokia Theater in Los Angeles. 40-year-old Myers, himself an Emmy winner, debuted as host of Late Night with Seth Meyers in February of this year, taking over the slot of Jimmy Fallon. Before that, he had been on SNL since 2001 and served as the show's head writer since 2006. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the show would not be possible without our dear friends at Options House. That'll give you 150 commission-free trades just for signing up for an account through this page. So click on those buttons at the top of the bottom right, open an Options House account. It's super easy. I did it myself the other day. Get those 150 commission-free trades just because you listened to Benzinga's pre-market prep. And with that, Brent is here right behind me waiting to discuss rating changes. So I'm going to ask him to step on over.
Step on over
Get
to the
in the
dance
mix.
floor. Yeah, sure. Let's go through a couple of these. Remember, we are most definitely in the heart of the earnings season, so a lot of the calls each day are definitely related to a company's recent quarterly figures. Without further ado, some of the downgrades, going to switch it up. Start with the downgrades today. Okay, so we had a Raymond James downgrade on Amazon, except, hold on, it was a downgrade from strong buy to outperform. So not exactly a very negative call here by Raymond James, but nonetheless, following results, they are downgrading it.
So strong by, what did they do?
They went from strong buy to outperform.
So that's a downgrade?
That's a downgrade, yes.
So
believe it or not, they did cut the price target from 443 down to 391, and as you can do some quick little math, that's about $60-$70 of upside that they see, so they're definitely still very bullish.
Yeah, well, there's going to be more upside the lower it goes here. Still going lower here.
We just opened. How did Amazon open?
Not very well. Opened
morning
up,
lows.
Oh, morning lows. Oi. 316 and a quarter. We were trading in the pre-market near that level. Open lower. Got another quick spike down here. So no love for Amazon in the market here. Let's just take a look. Oh boy, still making new lows here. Let's see if we can find. Just get your bids out here, folks. You did have a low of the move here. It could be there in about 14 seconds here. 305.50 has been the low of the move. You hit that on April 15th, so could be a target on the downside here for you short traders. 305.50.
And as Amazon's moving lower following the open, we do have the S&P futures kind of looking like they want to tick a little bit higher. We're getting a couple ticks down right now, but we did bounce off of a low below 1866. We're sitting around 1866. There it is.
I just want to point out here, and I am just kicking myself here. I got not paying attention during the show here, and had one little pop in crude not too long ago, right when we started the show here, and it was leaning against all those lows on 101.20, and it just took it out with a vengeance here. Crude now trading down $1.32. So there was if you get a rally back, maybe the 101.10, 101.20 level might be a short, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to have to sell into this thing in order to participate in the meltdown here in the crude market. So what else we got going on?
So we got shares of Ford trading down about 3% following those results. It does look like GM is starting to come down with that, and we do have, let's see, a Craig Hallam analyst downgrading shares of GM from buy to hold this morning, so maybe take a look at both those automakers, Joe.
Okay, Ford did exhibit weakness in the pre-market. Hit a big institutional level yesterday at 1650, but wow, a ways away from that. 1581 open, 77 low here. That's the vicinity of a few other lows that you had. Right in this area, I had 4 or 5 lows between 1553 and 75. So I don't know. The downside may be limited here for the remainder of the session. Just big buyers here, maybe short-term traders that took shorts up in the higher 16s. So don't see a tremendous downside here for Ford. Down 1553 is the lowest of those moves on April 14th.
All right, so how about GM? We're sitting around 33.85 right now.
And they got downgraded, huh?
They got downgraded by Craig Hallam.
Craig Hallam.
Never heard of them?
Never heard of them.
They do all right.
Yeah.
They're a smaller firm, but they do make some decent calls.
Well, what they're banking on is that low from yesterday, 33.52. That was the low yesterday's session. Today's session's low, 33.55. Opened up right at that level too, so potential double bottom here in GM. This also was the area that was holding up on the dailies when you were ranging until you finally had that breakdown below $32. 33.50 was an intermediate support area.
Okay, so I believe one earnings play we didn't get to talk about this morning was Broadcom. You remember talking about this one?
Did not talk about Broadcom.
BRCM, Bravo Romeo Charlie Mike is the ticker. They reported 51 cents versus 46 cents on sales of 1.98 billion versus an estimate there of 1.96 billion. That was last night after the close. Guidance looked to be about in line, and this morning we have a Needham analyst downgrading the stock from buy to hold.
Yeah, it seems like the downgrade is having more impact than the actual earnings. Did make a low here, 29.67. That was right off the opening print. Got a nice pop off that, so I looked for that area to be protected if it comes back down there again. You had 3 consecutive lows in the 29.70, so got a tad below that. So support holding up so far in Broadcom.
All right, so one more downgrade. This one does not appear to be earnings related. We have a downgrade on shares of DreamWorks Interactive, DWA, trading down about 4%. The analyst, hold on, I just lost it. Analyst that downgraded DreamWorks was Topeka, David Miller at Topeka Capital. Downgraded that one to sell, slapped on a $22 price target.
Are they in Kansas?
DreamWorks?
No, Topeka.
Topeka? I don't know. Let me see.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right, let's take a look at... isn't that the capital of Kansas?
Yes.
Okay. I know my capitals.
Me too.
Okay. 26.80 is the low you hit in the session. Opened a buck lower. Pretty big downward move here. not a heavily traded issue. 2680. That coincides with a 2677 low, so we'll see if that could hold up for the remainder of the session. If in fact it doesn't, we could be trading in the lower 26s. 2614 was your low on April 15th.
So we had shares of Celgene trading down about 2.5% yesterday following Q1 results. They were better than expected, but nonetheless, there were sellers. We have an upgrade this morning at Piper Jaffray. Firm is upgrading the stock to overweight. CELG is the Celgene ticker.
Okay, Celgene, one of the biotechs here that's in the green so far. Now, this one is really closer to the bottom of its move than the other ones, where that had to run and then had to pop up
Right.
after earnings here. Looking, if you were in on the open, you were in on the low of the day here. 141.26, 141.10 low, getting some momentum. Don't see a lot, to stop this thing. I see a close at 144.82 on Wednesday, so that could be a potential resistance point. But if you're just going on daily highs and lows, you're pretty wide open to the 148 level. I just for Jared here, I just want to touch on Decker.
Yeah.
It's Decker.
Did we talk about the earnings?
No, you want
remember.
to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So last night after the close, they did report, it looks like a loss of 8 cents per share on sales of $294.7 million, but that was a beat. Analysts were looking for a loss of 15 cents per share on sales just over $282 million. I haven't looked at how Decker's opened this morning yet. How's it doing?
Opened up. This has had a pretty wild range so far here. 83.24 and got an initial pop off that to 83.56. Kind of backed off to its level. Jared held this one. Back to breaking even as the earnings, stomped them. And here's the old, psychology, holding on to you're back to breaking even. Well, here's your shot. I mean, the issue did have a gap down here. It is now needs to go. It did fill the gap, Jared. It did fill the gap from that gap down day. So I'd like to see it continue to head on, in the direction. The next, you got some super extra major resistance in the issue at the $85 level. I can't really pick a number because it's 85, 23, 34, and 74. So if it does get that high today, mid 85s might be a chance. Now it's after earnings. You can let the rush go. I just wouldn't be real happy if it came back down and took out the low of the day at 81.60. I would fear that it would come down to fill the gap at 79.51. The S&Ps are also a little bit weak today, so you got the market working against you, Jared, but don't let this one get away from you.
GGB throwing in a little link there to Kristin's blog spot, and that is a great blog if everyone wants to check it out, talentedblonde.com. A little Kristin Bentz pump there. One news item that I didn't get a chance to talk about, I wanted to talk about earlier, and this will relate to my upgrades downgrades thing. We had news from Standard & Poor's last night that Under Armour will be joining the S&P 500. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Kind of cool. And then Stifel Nicolaus upgrading the stock from hold to buy this morning. Haven't had a chance to dig into that report yet. Not sure if Stifel is citing that news from last night. But remember, Under Armour did just have results yesterday morning, so I'm thinking it's probably more likely related to that.
Are they booting anybody?
Yes, they are booting. Let me see. Usually it goes where one gets in, the other gets out, another gets in, another gets out. Okay, so we have Poly 1 replacing Under Armour in the mid-cap 400. We have a company called ACE2, that is ACET, will be replacing Poly 1 in the small-cap 600. Under Armour in the SP 500 will be replacing Beam, which is
taken
going to
over.
be purchased. Yep.
Yep. I gotta be getting my Jim Beam out to make my not gonna be able to make full mid juleps. I got a busy day for Kentucky Derby Day, but I just want to alert our traders here to the S&P 500 futures. We are trading very, very close to the low of the day from yesterday, 63.75. So that's our first target on the downside. Kind of felt that we were still good to go to the upside if we could hold this level. reached it pretty early in the session here. So to see if the buy the dippers want to put a double bottom here in the S&Ps, 63.75. We've hit 64 and a quarter. If in fact that level does not hold, I see nothing but air down to 1856.75, and that was your low back on Monday.
Well, Joel, I figure I'll hop into the show at this point. I
Okay.
don't know if you've seen the headline that's going around right now. This is nuts. Shub sent this over to me. Just hear, so Mitch McGary is declaring for the draft. But did you hear why? It's ridiculous. Apparently he tested positive for marijuana for an NCAA drug test, which means he got banned for a year. Absolutely ridiculous. Banned from NCAA basketball for 1 year for smoking marijuana once. He had already passed 5 drug tests, and he wasn't even dressed for the game. He was in a suit, wasn't even on the bench. Like, I am amazed this is happening. I don't get it. Like right now, Twitter's blowing up about this. So basketball fans are people that, I mean, yeah, I can't even imagine what the NCAA is thinking. Apparently, they changed the policy afterwards, and the appeal wasn't accepted. I don't even get what's going on over there, but that's absolutely ridiculous.
He was going. He was going pro anyways.
I mean, I feel like he would have wanted one more year, but I guess he could have dominated in college. But man, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, actually, I got my phone was blowing up during the show. My buddies.
That must have been it.
Yeah, it was like.
Yeah,
so.
I couldn't believe it, but wow, that was pretty shocking. On the other side of things that are maybe not as shocking, Plug Power falling this morning, down about 6.5% after pricing its secondary public offering at $5.50 a share.
Wow.
Now, the stock dropped about 6% yesterday. It's been down all week. I think they announced it when they were in the 7s, right? I'm trying to pull this up real quick. Maybe not the 7s, but they dropped 6% yesterday, so a big move, and then another 6% this morning. They're still trading above where the secondary is. I mean, right now they're at, 562 is the last trade I'm seeing right now. So they're still 12 cents above the secondary, but it's 22.6 million shares, so it's a significant offering. They're going to raise $124 million from it. Company's market cap is just over $800 million. So they're bringing in some serious capital. If this company isn't laid in with enough capital to last the next couple of years, I don't know what they got to do. But Plug Power really capitalizing on the recent share price.
Yeah, the run up here. I guess Nick was talking cautious about that. His electrical engineer background. He says it's batteries. We've had batteries for a long time, so keep an eye on that secondary price. J. Dot, I'm sorry, I forgot to cover camp here. I'm not seeing any news on this stock here. Maybe Brent. How low can it go here? Let's take a look.
I believe they had results
last
night.
Was it
Jinx.
Yesterday morning?
I think it was last night.
Yeah, it was at 4:15 yesterday. It announced Q1 adjusted EPS of 17 cents.
There it is.
Looks like
that was a miss.
Oh no, it was their that was what they're guiding. I'm sorry. Guiding between 17 and 21 cents. Their fourth quarter adjusted EPS rating was 20 cents.
Yes. And that was a miss. 20 versus 21. Sales also missed.
Right. Yeah, sales missed, and then the guidance wasn't so hot. So got to keep an eye on Cal Amp today.
Yeah, if you traded this on the short side at all, I mean, you might just want to look and see if there's any, decent sized bids out there. I see, you're at a round number like 20 here, 20.05. So I'm not sure if they're leaning something at the $20 level. I'm just going back to October of 2013, and you had a gap up between 1888 and 2053 here. So perhaps 1888, get close to that $19 level. That would be your next support point. But, keep an eye out, see if you see any large institutional bids in there, and maybe, step in front of them a little bit. The stock is coming down from the $35 level just at the beginning of March. So you do have some shorts sitting on some big profits.
Well, Joel, how about that Microsoft report? Beating on the bottom line, beating on the top. Satya Nadella really kind of showing off in his first report. I know he's going to be credited with it, even though really these results go back to Steve Ballmer's reign. It's going to be a little bit before we see really what Satya Nadella can do. but he did kind of, he's making a bunch of headlines right now, and the stock is over $40.
It's over $40. It was actually closer to 41 though
It hit
early.
41.06 in the post-market session yesterday, but it's hanging on above $40. I wondered as we were selling off here in the pre-market if it would break below, but it looks like $40 is hanging on right now.
Yeah, taking a look at Mr. Softy here. The stock's had a nice run over the last couple years. Last year and a half. Couldn't hold the get back up to 41 even. That's where the resistance was on the daily charts, as well as confirmed by the pre-market, the 40.68 high. So you get back up there, I think it's going to be rough sledding. Although if it does get back up there between 40.68 and 41, I think it'd just be littered with offers. Coming back on the downside, if you do get followed through this 40.19 level, you need to get down to 39.97 to fill the gap from yesterday. So if in fact it takes out 40.19, you might have another 20-cent drop to 40 even.
Well, Joel, we do have, I'm kind of zooming out to the market as a whole right now. We did get a pretty big dip in the Dow Jones minis and not as much in the S&Ps, but we've been kind of trading down all morning. We do have more instability over in Ukraine. Not any more reported deaths, but there's a lot of posturing going back and forth between Ukraine and Russia. Russia did build up on the border with Ukraine, and then Ukraine responded this morning with a statement saying that any Russian troops entering Ukraine would be considered a declaration of war, and they would basically move on them. Whether or not Russia says it's a humanitarian mission or whatever, they said they will attack them all out, and I think they said that they will be removed. There's some kind of interesting verbiage. Obviously, there's a translation gap, but it was strong language, and I guess a Ukrainian helicopter got blown up yesterday.
Okay, well, with that good news from Jake here. No, we don't have you on the show more often. Nick Shahino has been talking about this macro situation. It's something that, you can talk about the charts, you can talk about the earnings, talk about the fundamentals, but when you have, economic events or things going like that overseas, just another reason to be cautious in these markets. So everyone have a good trading day. We'll be back with you on Monday.